It began with a whisper, somewhere on the fringe of the Perseus arm. In a region known as the Wound, a cluster of stellar corpses and black holes, an ancient signal pulsed life. No one knew how long it had been broadcasting or who it was meant for. It blinked once every 88 seconds. A perfect square wave encoded in gravitational distortion. Impossible, nonsensical, and yet undeniably artificial. The signal wasn't detected by accident. It was found by Project Deep Echo, a black-budget observatory buried under Antarctica's kilometers of ice. The observatory had one mission: to listen for the unknowable. When the anomaly appeared on its instruments, red flags lit up from Earth to Europa. The distortion wasn't just a radio signal. It was bending space-time in a pattern, a language that bypassed normal physics. A message or a lure. The United Earth Directorate, ever cautious and ever hungry, chose response over restraint. A ship was built, unlike anything before it, powered by the newly discovered Singularity thread drive. It could dip the edge of its hull into higher dimensions, surfing time as much as space. It was called the Aegis, and it would carry Commander Juliet Rourke, veteran of the Titan incursion, survivor of the Kepler uprising, and someone whose name was spoken like a curse in some corners of the galaxy. She didn't seek the mission. She didn't want command. But when the signal came, she was the only one who didn't flinch. Rourke stood alone on the bridge of the Aegis as the stars twisted outside the viewing canopy. The ship hadn't launched yet, but time already felt strange. Around her, displays pulsed with soft red light, heartbeat-like, as if the vessel anticipated its journey. The crew were still boarding, their voices a distant murmur through the corridors. But the silence between those voices, the silence from that signal, that was louder. We shouldn't answer, her XO had said the night before launch. But Rourke had simply replied, we always answer. Because that's what humanity did, even when it shouldn't. The Aegis was more than a ship. It was a fortress wrapped in myth. Its black hull absorbed light like a void. Its engines whispered to the laws of reality rather than roared. Only 30 crew members had been chosen, each handpicked not for loyalty, but for adaptability. Rourke didn't want followers. She needed survivors. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Cale Dorn, was a former pirate-turned-military strategist. Brilliant, unpredictable, and fond of quoting extinct philosophers no one else bothered to remember. He was the only one who called her Jules, and somehow she never corrected him. Dr. Alina Sorov, the ship's xenotemporal physicist, had once mapped the quantum mind of a dying alien hive. She spoke slowly, carefully, like each word might collapse probability. Her eyes saw the world in equations, and behind them, something else. Chief Engineer Maceo Hall had more cybernetics than bones. Once a miner in the Ganymede pits, he'd walked through radiation storms like they were morning drizzle. Rumor had it he once punched a rogue AI into submission. Hall never denied it. And then there was the anomaly expert, Talia Van, the quiet one. Nobody knew who'd approved her. She had no military record, no scientific accolades, but she spoke 12 dead languages and sometimes stared at walls like they whispered back. These were the people chosen to ride into the unknown. At launch, the Aegis vanished from Sol orbit with barely a ripple. Not a roar, not a flash, just gone, as if space had forgotten it ever existed. Inside, Rourke felt gravity twist sideways for a heartbeat, then settle. She glanced at the NAV display. The Wound was weeks away under normal FDL. The thread drive would get them there in 4 hours. The crew braced for what they called the slip, the moment the Aegis would peel open the edge of now and drift sideways into the fabric of time itself. Engage thread drive, she said. No ceremony, no grand countdown. Just motion, impossible motion. Stars bled into spirals. Colors not meant for eyes shimmered across the bridge. And then silence. They had entered the Wound. Outside, nothing moved. No stars. No light. Only the signal. Still pulsing, louder now. The gravitational echo thrummed through the hull like a drumbeat. And in the middle of that dead space hung a single object. Not a planet. Not a ship. It looked like a cathedral. No one spoke at first. The object filled half the viewport. slowly rotating in perfect silence. From a distance, it resembled a massive Gothic cathedral. Soaring spires, arching buttresses, and something that might have been stained glass windows, except it wasn't built from stone or glass. It was made of polished obsidian and metallic bone, the material shifting subtly as though it were alive. Its geometry disobeyed symmetry, yet remained mesmerizing, like it had been designed by something that understood humanity better than humanity understood itself. Dr. Sorov leaned forward, brow furrowed. It's dimensional. The shape is changing depending on where I stand. I see 13 spires, Dorn said. I see 5, Hall countered. I see none, Rourke said, not looking away. Ven spoke for the first time in hours. It's not meant to be seen. It's meant to be felt. The cathedral wasn't orbiting anything. It simply hung in the void, anchored to nothing, defying motion. But the signal, that gravitational pulse, came from its core. Every 88 seconds, the ship's hull groaned in sync with it. A heartbeat made from gravity. A calling card. Are we detecting life? Rourke asked. Organic traces, Sora replied. But nothing alive. Nothing carbon-based. Just structure. Complex structure. Dead ruins, maybe? Hall suggested. No, Ven whispered. Not dead. Dormant. Rourke gave the order. Prepare a team. We go in. The Aegis deployed its boarding craft. The Umbra, a sleek needle-shaped shuttle hardened for dimensional travel. Rourke led the team herself, Dorn, Sorov, Hall, and Ven accompanying her. As the Umbra detached and glided toward the cathedral, the silence grew oppressive. Even the instruments hissed with static now. The closer they got, the more distorted their readings became. Once inside the cathedral's gravity well, the Umbra jerked, like it had been seized. Lights flickered. For a moment, the crew saw faces press against the viewports, shadows in the shape of watchers. Then the docking bay opened by itself. No mechanical sounds. No doors. Just a blooming of space. An invitation written in impossible physics. They entered. The interior defied comprehension. A single corridor stretched out in all directions. Gravity existed, but in multiple vectors. The walls were adorned with carvings, not etched by tools, but grown like biological memory turned into art. Symbols twisted across the surfaces. Not human, not alien. Looks like a warning, Sorov muttered. Ven shook her head. No, a story. Then they heard it, the first true sound in that place. A voice, speaking in broken, layered syllables. Return lost echo time. The voice didn't come from any direction. It simply was vibrating in their bones, bypassing ears and implant feeds alike. It was like hearing a dream speak. Did that come from the cathedral? Dorn asked, weapon half-drawn. Sorov ran her hand along the wall. It rippled under her touch-like skin. It's not broadcasting in any traditional spectrum. It's embedded in the gravitational field itself. This place is singing in space-time. Hall scowled. I don't like it. Structure this complex doesn't build itself. Something's still here. The corridor forked ahead, shifting in real time. What had been a wall dissolved, revealing a chamber beyond. It wasn't an illusion. The architecture was alive. A nervous system of architecture, responding to presence. Rourke made the call. Split up. Hall, Ven. Sweep left. Dorn, Sorov with me. They moved cautiously. Each footstep echoed and warped by the cathedral's acoustics. In her path, Rourke saw flashes of movement, like memories trapped in light. Shadows of beings that no longer existed. Bipedal, vaguely humanoid, wrapped in flowing forms that shimmered like liquid data. They're not just projections, Sorov whispered. This whole place is recording us, observing, learning. Ven and Hall's team found a chamber filled with floating spheres, suspended in place, pulsing faintly. Hall reached out, and one sphere blinked open like an eye. He froze. In that instant, he saw a city of glass and fire, a planet being torn into a singularity. He saw a time fracture. He saw the Aegis, crushed by an unseen force. Then the vision snapped back, and the sphere dimmed. Ven steadied him. It's not showing the past. Future? Possible futures, she said grimly. Back with Rourke's group, the corridor narrowed into a sanctum. At its center hovered an obelisk, inscribed with swirling glyphs. As they approached, the gravitational pulses grew stronger, to the point of nausea. Rourke gritted her teeth. What is it? Sora was transfixed. It's a time anchor, a gravity-based quantum lock. It's keeping something in place, something outside normal time. Suddenly, the voice returned. Stronger, closer. You are late. The obelisk cracked. Light poured from it, not bright, but deep, a color that felt like falling. And from it stepped a figure. Humanoid, tall, faceless, wrapped in the same mirror data shimmer as the earlier visions. But this one was aware. It turned toward Rourke and spoke again. You were not the first. The figure stood motionless as though waiting for something, permission perhaps, or recognition. The Aegis crew held their ground, weapons lowered but ready. No hostile motion, no rush, only silence and the ambient hum of the cathedral's shifting structure. Rourke took a step forward. Who are you? The being replied, voice layered in harmonics that suggested multiplicity. I am the Keeper of Echoes, last sentinel of the Archive. Archive? Sora asked. The cathedral, it said, gesturing not with hands, but with a subtle warping of space, built to preserve memory from the end of all ends. When entropy comes and stars go dark, this place will remain. Who built it? Rourke pressed. The answer came with a sound like thunder buried beneath water. We did, and you did. Dorn raised an eyebrow. Humanity? Aversion. You became us, or we became you. There's no distinction now. The timelines have folded upon themselves too many times. Then stepped forward, eyes wide. This structure, it's a chronal construct, a seed vault of time. Yes, memory, preserved as experience, lives encoded in gravity, histories in vibration. But the core is failing, and the signal you followed was a scream of the Archive dying. Hall, watching from the entrance, muttered, Then what the hell do you want from us? The figure tilted its head, and behind it, the walls shimmered with images. Fleets of starships disintegrating, galaxies twisting into nothingness, versions of Earth frozen in time. You carry the thread drive. It is new, untested. Your journey carved a fresh scar in causality. A chance. A final loop. Sora's voice trembled. You want us to go back. To prevent this. Not prevent. Inform. Record. Carry this knowledge to those who will act. The loop cannot be broken, but it can be improved. Rourke looked around at her crew, each of them processing what they were hearing in their own way. How? The figure stepped aside, revealing a chamber behind it, vast and crystalline. In its center floated a construct shaped like a heart, pulsing in tandem with the gravitational signal. This is a codex. It contains the sum of every timeline, every branch, every echo. But it must be carried by something alive, bound by will, threaded by purpose. And if we refuse? Dorn asked, then this becomes your grave, like the others before you. The chamber suddenly lit up, showing wrecks of ships, ancient, alien, human, embedded in the walls, half-phased out of reality. We're not the first expedition, Rourke murmured. No, the figure said softly, but you may be the last. The chamber was colder than before, or maybe it was time itself cooling, folding into a finite conclusion. The codex hovered, pulsating with light that defied spectrum, like a heartbeat in reverse. The sound was inside their skulls, not in their ears. It hummed in tune with the Aegis's last recorded gravimetric signal. It was familiar, personal. Van approached first. Her fingers reached toward the codex, but the sentinel raised a hand. It must be chosen. By who? She asked. By the codex. It selects the one most aligned with its burden. It is not about knowledge. It is about memory. Hall scoffed. How can a rock choose someone? It is alive in ways your biology cannot define. The codex glowed brighter. Each member of the crew was suddenly overwhelmed by a flood of sensation, not pain, not thought, experience. Lifetimes unspooled in the space of breath. Rourke felt herself as a child on Titan, then as a mother, which she'd never been, then as a soldier dying in a war that had never happened. 1,000 versions of her, stitched together in quantum agony. Then it stopped. They all staggered back, except one. Sora stood motionless, eyes wide, hands trembling. The Codex had chosen. "I felt everything," she whispered. "Everyone. Not just me, other versions of me. Universes where I made different choices, where I died, where I became something else." Rourke steadied her. "Can you handle it?" "I don't know," Sora whispered, "but I don't think I have a choice." The Sentinel extended its hand. "Then take the Codex. Let it root. Let it remember." Sora stepped forward. The Codex floated into her chest, phasing through her uniform into her being. Her eyes went black. Her body shivered. Her heartbeat sank to the cathedral. Then silence. A long, endless silence. Until Sora opened her eyes. They were still black, but glowing from within. She smiled faintly. "I remember the first fire. I remember when we learned to lie. I remember when we climbed the black trees of the third earth. I remember the end. And the beginning. I remember you." The Sentinel bowed. "Then it is done." Suddenly, the cathedral shuddered. Not violently, more like a sigh. A closing. The gravitational pulses slowed. The chambers began folding back into themselves. "It's collapsing," Dorn said. "No," Sora replied calmly. "It's leaving." The walls became translucent. Outside, the void shimmered, stars twisting into spirals. The cathedral wasn't dying. It was phasing out of their reality, retreating beyond time. Back aboard the Umbra, as they fled the disintegrating corridor, Ven looked back one last time. "What happens now?" Sora answered softly. "Now we bring the message home." The Umbra slipped away from the vanishing cathedral, the thread drive sparking erratically. Sora sat in the command chair now, eyes shut, her breathing steady, like a transmitter waiting for the right frequency. "Coordinates?" Rourke asked, glancing over at her. "No need," Sora replied, voice distant. "The Codex knows the path." Hall stared at her. "You're speaking like it's a person." Sora turned to him, and for a moment, her expression wasn't hers. It was older, tired, infinite. "It is not a person. It is people. All of them. Every branch. Every failure. Every last scream of a dying civilization recorded in gravitational code. I am not just carrying the Codex. I am it." Dorn tapped the console nervously. "So, how do we know we're going to the right timeline?" Sora nodded toward the NAV systems. "Watch." The thread drive, previously unstable, suddenly aligned itself, angles shifting, folding into place like an origami of quantum mechanics. The Umbra vanished, slipping between what once were laws and now were merely suggestions. Time bent, they emerged somewhere familiar, and yet wrong. Earth, but not their Earth. The sky was burned orange. The moon shattered. Megastructures floated like crucifixes above broken continents. Orbiting data buoys marked battlefields that spanned centuries. "This isn't home," Rourke said, staring in disbelief. "No," Sora confirmed. "This is a lesson." A fleet approached, not ships, but living entities. Biomechanical arcs shaped like insects in flame. A language spilled from them in pulses, unreadable. Sora raised her hand. The Umbra responded through her, and a pulse went back, codex to codex. The fleet halted. For a moment, the sky shimmered. A vision was shared. Earth, healed, stars alive again, hope rekindled. Rourke could feel the message embedding into the alien fleet's collective consciousness. "They're learning from us," she whispered. "We're seeding timelines." Sora turned. "Exactly. This is not about saving one world. It's about injecting memory where it was lost, reawakening species that forgot what it meant to care, to build, to fight for more than survival." The Umbra jumped again, and again, each time a new world, a new branch, a new civilization on the brink, some of them human, many of them alien, all of them dying from the same disease, forgetfulness. The crew became vessels of history. Not heroes, not warriors, just reminders. The cathedral had been a library. Now they were its messengers. On the 10th jump, they returned to their Earth, their time. It looked untouched. But Sorov whispered, "It's not." "What do you mean?" Dorn asked. She turned slowly, her eyes glowing once more. This is where it started. They stood on Earth's surface now, or what looked like it. The Umbra had landed just outside the old Europa Research Complex, long since abandoned. But something was wrong. The air shimmered. The gravity was shaky, like it couldn't decide if it wanted to collapse or hold. "This isn't our timeline," Hall said. "Not exactly." "No," Sorov replied. "But it's close. A derivative, a thread that splinter a fraction of a second after ours. Close enough for memory to bleed." They approached the shattered remains of a satellite dish, the same model as the one that first received the Codex signal years ago. Then scanned the area. The soil carried radiation signatures that didn't match any known isotope. "I think this is where the first signal was created," she said. "Not received." Sorov stared into the sky. It didn't come from the future, or the past. It came from here. Silence fell like ash. "What are you saying?" Rourke asked, stepping closer. Sorov turned to her. "The cathedral didn't send a message randomly. It knew. It remembered us. Because we sent it." Hall blinked. "We sent the message to ourselves?" "Not us exactly," Sorov said. "But our kind. One version of us. After failing 1,000 times, they found the key, the Codex, and launched it into the folds of time, hoping a better version of themselves would find it." Dorn exhaled. "So, with a better version?" "No," Sorov whispered. "We're just the next one." A tremor shook the complex. The earth opened, and beneath it, machinery unlike anything they'd seen. A transmitter the size of a city, dormant but intact. Its design was unmistakable. It matched the cathedral. "That's the origin," Rourke breathed. "This is where the Codex began its journey." They descended into the chasm, dust falling around them like the echoes of forgotten war. As they moved deeper, the transmitter pulsed. Not active, not yet, but waiting. Sorov approached the core and placed her hand on the interface. The Codex inside her responded instantly. The machinery hummed. Lights flickered to life. In the center of the chamber, a hologram appeared. Not of stars, not of data, but of them. The crew, all of them, standing as they were, in the moment, frozen in time. Then the image warped, showing hundreds of variations, different crews, different forms, species, outcomes. Some triumphed. Most failed. The chamber asked a single question. "Transmit." The crew looked at Sorov. She didn't hesitate. "Yes." The core surged with ancient energy. Panels long dormant glowed with violet fire, illuminating the entire chasm in a slow, deliberate pulse. The transmitter was awakening, not just as a machine, but as a memory engine. Rourke's voice was barely audible over the rising hum. "What exactly are we transmitting?" Sorov's eyes were distant again. "All of it. Every failure. Every lesson. Every fragment of hope the Codex preserved. We're not just sending information. We're sending us." A projection unfurled above them, mapping the infinite strands of timelines. Each one flickered with a signature of a civilization lost, teetering on collapse, or about to ignite into something new. The cathedral's true function was now clear. It wasn't a vault. It was a lighthouse. The Codex had always been a flare, a cosmic cry of defiance launched into the swirling entropy of dying futures. And now, the transmitter at the origin point would see that signal again and again, endlessly, across time. Hall whispered, "Are we changing the past?" "No," Sorov said. "We're illuminating it, and the future, and every splinter of reality in between." The machine responded to her thoughts. No buttons, no interface, just consciousness. The Codex pulsed within her, interface with the cathedral's twin buried deep in Earth's crust. A beam of light erupted into the sky, slicing through atmosphere and void. Above, orbit cracked open, not from damage, but from geometry. A tear in the fabric of known space unraveled silently, like a petal blooming across the stars. Within it, ships stirred. Beings watched. Some had 2 legs. Some had none. Some were human, others post-human, evolved past form or need. All of them paused as a message reached them, not in words, but in resonance. Rourke collapsed to her knees, clutching her chest. I can feel them, all of them. They're listening. Ven's eyes welled with tears. They're remembering. The machine's pulse reached a crescendo. In its wake, the Umbra system shut down and restarted. Its AI, silent for hours, blinked back into awareness. Umbra control online. Thread resonance detected. Timeline C confirmed. Outside, clouds parted. Above them hung the sky as it was, and a mirror version, overlaid like a film reel of possible fates. Earth burned. Earth thriving. Earth alien. Sorov looked at her crew. You asked if we were the better version, she said. We're not. We're just the ones who listen. The light faded slowly, but the transmission echoed beyond perception, a wave that would outlive stars. In its silence, something new began to bloom. The silence after the transmission was unlike any before it. Not empty, but full, like the hush after a final note in a grand symphony. The transmitter's core dimmed, energy subsiding gently, as if knowing its task had been fulfilled. Outside, the sky rippled. A reminder that something had changed, even if no one alive on Earth yet knew it. But the crew of the Umbra knew. They emerged from the chasm slower than they'd gone in, their expression subdued, thoughtful. The landscape around them looked the same, but it felt brighter, as if the world had exhaled for the first time in millennia. The Umbra awaited them silently, hull gleaming beneath the fading twilight. As they boarded, Dorn turned and looked up once more. Do you think we'll ever see the result of what we sent? Sorov paused. No. Rourke blinked. That's it? Just no. We won't see it. Not in our lifetime. Sorov said, but someone will. Somewhere. And maybe, just maybe, they'll do the same. That's the point. Inside, the ship was alive again. Consoles glowed. The codex, once inert and alien, now pulsed with a slow, warm rhythm. Not controlling, but guiding. A new route had opened in the NAV systems. One not charted by star maps, but by resonance threads. Hall studied the new path. Where does it lead? To the threads still unwritten, Sorov replied. We've lit a fire in the darkness. Now it's our duty to follow the sparks. The Umbra rose into the upper atmosphere, a streak of light against the dawn. As they passed beyond the clouds, they saw it. Earth, unchanged in the physical, but humming with potential. Orbiting satellites began to shimmer, faintly with residual codex energy. They had become subtle transmitters themselves, diffusing echoes of memory, quietly spreading what was once lost. A single alert chimed on the console. New signal detected. Origin unknown. Language recognizable. Emotion hope. Rourke leaned forward. Is that another reply? Sorov didn't answer. She simply smiled. They had become the first of something new. Librarians of forgotten time. Carriers of memory through the void. Their names might be lost in the data, but the signal they carried would ripple outward forever. No statues would be built. No worlds would remember the crew of the Umbra. But across 10,000 timelines, a simple truth would endure. Humanity remembered. And because of that, so did everyone else. And in the galactic silence where entropy once ruled, something far more powerful now echoed. A whisper, a message, a promise. We are here. We remember. And we're not done yet. The Umbra vanished into stars.